All right, everybody, it's Sunday night and we are live. We are live from my house, me and Josh. Sunday night, what does that mean, Josh? What are we doing tonight?
We are doing a podcast called Shootin' in the Breeze.
Shooting in the breeze?
No, Shootin' the Breeze.
Shooting the breeze. All right, so if you're shooting in the breeze,
That's a different thing.
I like the shooting the breeze thing because it kind of like, tells us what we're doing right now. We're shooting the breeze.
We're just two middle-aged guys sitting down and talking.
Yes, and I, what do you call it? I heard that the Shooting the Breeze guys did a pretty good interview the other day.
You mean you and I?
You and I, yes. Yeah, I like your very nice when you say that, you and I. But yes, we did an interview with your buddy Joey down there, and I really enjoyed that, dude.
That was a great conversation. It was, I don't like to say interview because we did less interviewing than we did more listening than we did interviewing. Because in an interview, it's more question-based. And I think with Joey, it was just him talking. And that's kind of what we wanted.
Yeah. And he seemed pretty comfortable talking to us, which I liked, and it flowed very well.
Yeah, and after the conversation, I spoke with him, and he said there were stories he hasn't told in 20 years.
Right.
And he actually said he got excited telling the stories. Because you know how it is. You grow up, you get married, you have kids, your kids become your life. Your life prior to that is in the background. And that is really who you become because of your background and what you did. And Joey is now who he is now after he met his wife and found religion and everything. But then he started telling stories about pitching to Cano.
Right.
And he got excited about that. He's like, dude, I haven't talked about that in years.
Now, do you think that, just talking to him the other day, do you think I could kind of open up a couple of doors to maybe people reaching out to him from my cave and all? Because I kind of like the whole aspect. It was, you read everything about this guy and he's got these, he's like a college baseball World Series star. But a lot of these people knew him when he was younger and listens maybe reach out to this guy. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Well,
he actually did say he had quite a few people reach out to him because of that conversation. Because we don't think of him as a college, like you read up on him. And he's, to you, a college baseball superstar.
Right.
To us, he was a high school superstar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Beyond that, back in the early 90s, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have this to follow Alabama. It was Penn State. It was all the local sports.
Yeah.
He became his own thing in college down in the South.
Right.
So a lot of these people, unless they were family or very close to him, didn't realize what he actually accomplished down there.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's really nice talking to him. Which now we're doing an interview on Tuesday. Now your Teague is a friend of yours, right? Now
Teague, I would not say he's a friend of mine.
Okay.
I grew up wrestling.
Okay.
Pennsylvania's a huge wrestling state.
Right.
He was from out by the Pittsburgh area.
Okay.
Him and his brother were phenomenal wrestlers.
Okay.
Everyone in the PA wrestling scene knew of the Moore name.
Okay.
I knew of him. We graduated right around the same time. He went on, became a national champion at Oklahoma State, became an international wrestling champion, started coaching D1. Now he's doing his own thing with helping kids choose colleges. And you and I spoke about this the other day, just you and I, at my house.
Yeah.
And that's something I said before, my parents didn't go to college. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to look at colleges.
Right.
Now he's helping guide kids, because they are still kids in high school. They're young adults, but they're mainly kids still, because they're living at home. They're not cooking for themselves, not providing for themselves. They're still kids.
Right.
Helping guide them how to choose a college, which is a huge decision in a kid's life.
Right. Of course, it's a huge decision. But I was looking at the numbers the other day, and I just think that I was reading an article the other day that a lot college admission is dropping for kids. Kids are going to trade schools instead of going to college. Now, what I was reading into the store, they said that these kids getting trades because college is getting way too expensive. Yep. Now, unless you're a top athlete, unless you're really, really smart. I mean, they were going down the list of schools that like are the hardest schools to get into in this country. Now, remember when that scandal happened with what's her name, Lori Loughlin and the Massimo guy,
Full House.
Yeah. Now,
Yep.
do you know what that was all about?
Yes.
Okay. The reason why now that's where these people get greedy, I think, because I'm sorry, we're going off on a little tangent about college, but I just happened to read this the other day and I saw the documentary. Her two girls got into a college where 4% of the applicants that get sent to Stanford University, and I'm sorry, USC.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Stanford was 6%. 6% of the applicants that get accepted at USC, thousands of applicants, they only take 6%. Now, if you're trying to, have that little scam of trying to get into college, it's like, now how do you combat something like that, dude? Like when you think about it, like, these guys are trying to get these kids into college, right?
Yep.
Now, how do you combat that when somebody's got millions and millions of dollars and like these big, huge universities? It's like, they're just like, they're mills,
But it's been that way even when we were younger before that.
Yeah.
Money will get in.
Mm.
The hard work and the kids that aren't coming from money,
right?
They have to put in that extra work to get into that school because their parents don't have the money to buy their way in.
Right.
They got in on scholarships for athletic scholarships. I'm doing air quotes because they didn't do any athletics.
Right.
But Lori McLaughlin and her husband, who was the back in the day, the Massimo.
Yeah, the Massimo clothes guy. Yeah.
The clothes guy. Made them look like they were athletically gifted and they got scholarships to get into that school. Outside of that, they weren't top students. No. But again, it is that money in the U.S., I hate to say it, money will get you further than what hard work and intelligence will.
Yeah.
Now, you can still get into those schools, and there's a lot of kids that get into those schools by putting in the work, going and grinding every day. And even the athletes that get into that school for scholarships grinded every day.
Right.
And Teague is going to talk about what he had to do growing up from 5 years old until he graduated high school, got into college, and it took him 5 years to get a national championship. And again, what is it? 0.1% of high school athletes get into college for a scholarship.
Right.
And then 0.1% of those make it beyond that for like professional sports.
Right.
So he made that high school sports is a sport.
Right.
When you get into college, it's a job.
Right.
It's not a season. You're doing that the entire time you're in college. Mm-hmm. You go to class. Before you go to class, you go to workouts. You go to class, you go to workouts. Even in the off season, you're doing that. And then in the on season, you're going to class, workouts, going to class, doing a sport. Afterwards, you're going to the training room to get everything you need to do. So that it is a regiment thing. Like it takes a lot compared to high school to do a sport in college.
Yeah.
For those kids that continue to do the sport in college, kudos to them because it's a lot more than what majority of the people can do.
Yeah.
And then he continued that after college and became an international champion over in Iran, over in all those places. Continued to do that. And then he became a D1 coach.
Wow. That's amazing. That's an amazing story. Another amazing story. So, all right, so that's going to be that's Tuesday 9:00, right?
Tuesday 9:00 on this channel.
Yeah,
because he's going to open up about what it took. Because people know about his accolades,
right?
But they don't know what it took for him to become a PIAA state champion. You're not from PA,
yeah,
but PA is the wrestling haven. It's starting to get out now more to other states, but it's a grind. To become a PIAA state champion, even one time, is one hell of an accomplishment.
Yeah. And
then he took that and left PA and went out to Oklahoma and became a national champion out there his senior year. Pinned a kid in the finals.
Wow.
And then became a coach. Actually, before he became a coach, went over to the international, became a champion over there, almost made the Olympics, a whole bunch of beat Olympic silver medalists, bronze medalists. Then went to become a coach because wrestling, you want to start because you want to teach the kids, not about wrestling, about becoming a person. He went back to that. Now he left that, and now he's still helping kids by getting them into college. How should you choose a college?
Because
a lot of kids don't know that.
Yeah, yeah. mean, I sure as hell didn't because I mean, I didn't go to college. I tried. Well, I'm gonna say I didn't go to college. I tried college, and again, my mother went to nursing school. She was a nurse. My dad never went to college. He was a cop. But yeah, and again, because I felt like I was a little behind the eight ball, for lack of a better term, with Aiden, because I felt like we were playing catch up because I didn't know the proper routes to take to get the financial aid or to get a scholarship or to get the applications done. So we were always playing catch up because he was like, oh, we got to get this application. I'm like, and I didn't know the process. And I'm going to know the process now with Jack, but you're right though. A lot of kids don't even have parents even willing to figure out the process, I guess. And they're all on their own.
100%. And I have to give my wife 100% kudos for what she's done for our two boys.
Yeah.
Not only to get into college, but while they were in college, my oldest is graduating a year early.
That's great.
Mainly because of her. And I hate to say it like this, but I saw either a Facebook, I believe it was a Facebook reel the other day about a valedictorian went on, and she was like congratulating everyone. Then she went into it, and she goes, and to my guidance counselor that didn't have the time to help me out to find the scholarships and wouldn't help me find colleges. And then to my math teacher who didn't help me this, because I'm not talking bad about teachers because they are underpaid. They have a job that I would not want to have.
Yeah.
And then the guidance counselors, they have, depending on the size, I went to Lock Haven, 200 kids graduating. You went to Queens. Yeah. How many kids graduated? So that guidance counselor had to help how many kids focus in on, all right, this is a college. Dude, they don't get paid enough to work beyond those hours going, all right, no. Maddie needs this class, this class. He's looking for this. Look for these scholarships.
Yeah.
And even at Binghamton,
yeah,
Jack still does not have someone that he can sit down to and say, all right, I have these classes. What class should I take now?
Right.
Shannon, every day after work, sits down and goes, all right, you know what? You need this many credits. This is what you're looking at. I went to school. She went to college, never graduated. I did. But she still takes, and I give her 100% of the credit. He's graduating a year early because of her.
That's awesome.
And it takes the parents to do that.
Yeah.
Because the kids are 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't know, all right, I need to look at this. I need to do this.
No.
If I'm not taking this class, what class? They're at college. They're just happy to be at college.
I know. I think, excuse me. I was also reading something, on the same topic we're talking about college. I think they're saying that a lot of kids are not only are kids not going to college. Now listen, this all along the same this article I read the other day. It all has to do, with kids and stuff, because the article I read was that kids are dropping out of college because they're saying it's too hard. Okay. Now there's 3 points that they'll make in this article. The kids are dropping out of college because it's too hard. Kids aren't going to college because they're opting to go to trade schools. Okay. Now, I think, and look, you blame it and say what you want, but I blame it on, obviously COVID, because now I don't know about you. We could go back to and talk about this for a second, but when my kids were sitting in their rooms, they were just pretty much given the answers.
Yep.
And now this went on for like 2 years. Now, whatever grade level you're at, that's 2 years of just like, come on, just give me the answers. So now that's who we were talking to. I told the kid that gave us the tour at Cortland. He was a senior at that point. And he said, he goes, we were sitting there playing video games while our teacher was supposed to give us grades, and we're getting 90s and 100s. And now it's pretty much all back. Like even like the more liberal schools are actually back on track. And now they got to learn. And now these professors and these teachers are like, what the hell is wrong with these kids? How come they're not passing? How come they're dropping out? Because the 3 years prior, they were just told they're passing.
Well, that's your oldest, my youngest.
Yeah.
Jack, his senior year was the beginning of COVID.
Okay.
So beginning of the year, he was in school. Mm. The second half, after January, COVID, all outside of school, video stuff like that. And nothing against the teachers, because they weren't ready for that shit.
Yeah.
How can you teach? And where we are now, Rich, we were lucky to where majority of the kids were able to have a computer, were able to have internet.
Yeah.
I know my one buddy teaches in Pennsylvania. Some of those kids didn't have a computer.
Yeah.
Didn't have access to internet. And we're lucky because our kids were in high school already. Could you imagine the kindergartners and the first graders going into this, sitting in front of a computer and the teacher trying to teach them?
Yeah.
They are so far behind the curve compared to what the kids were. Now, Jack, his first year, thankfully, he was all remote. He stayed at home. We saved money on room and board, stayed at home, but he wasn't getting on the computer and doing it like a class. He would get on at midnight and work until 3 a.m. I'm like, dude, that's not what you can do. He's like, Dad, I don't know what college is. And when he said that, I'm like, you know what? You're right. So I sat down. I looked at his classes. I said, this is your schedule, dude. You're going to sit down in the dining room with your computer and do work from 9 to 10. Your next class is at noon. Do it here to here. That's when he finally was like, oh, all right. I got to do it from here to here. Right. Because high school, you just go in 7:30 till 2:30, and then you're out. Yeah. College is you have a class here, no class here, no class. He's like, Dad, I don't know what college is. Exactly.
It sucks for every level that had to go through that. And I think it's seriously screwed up our society because, it goes back. Do you think like your kids, like would you like the way I raise my kids? Like I think when you're raising kids, you have risk takers or you have kids that aren't going to or non-risk takers. And I think a lot of the kids that have grown up around this environment where they were told they can't go outside or they have to have a mask or they can't do this or they can't kiss grandma or we can't see grandma. I think that there was like, wait a second. So I think that kicked a lot of these kids back on taking risks of doing stuff. And I'm not just saying, that was a risk, but they were told they can't. So I think as they grow older, when you're told that, you can't do something, I think they really take it literally. And I think whereas I think we're on what I say to my kids, like, no, take the risks. Like, go talk to those people, shake that person's hand, take that mask off, just like even the stupid things like that. Like, I'd rather have the kid that maybe one day he might get himself in trouble for being a risk taker. Like my son, Jack, for instance. Okay. He's a risk taker. Like I said, that kid.
And Aiden's not. I know Aiden. Yeah. Great kid. And I think that's also the second kid. Yes. Because Jack is like my Matt. Aiden's more like my Jack. Yes. More respectful here. Yes. Now, both my kids are respectful. I'm not saying your kids aren't respectful. Right. But Maddie is he's willing to toe that line more than Jack was.
Yes. Now, Aiden will always toe the line. Not even toe the line. Aiden always stays on his side.
That's Jack.
Aiden's a great kid. And you look at them and as they're getting older, their relationships are getting a lot better. And I love that. That's like, as a father, see them getting wrong. It's the greatest thing ever.
It's amazing the change from when they were younger to now.
It's the greatest thing ever.
They are best friends. Yeah. They're a half hour from school, my boys. Yeah. But they'll travel and stay with each other. Yeah. Back in the day, I said it before, they would wait until one said, if we asked, all right, do you want this or this? One would wait for one to say one so the other one could contradict that and go, no, I want this. Yeah. Now they talk to each other every single day.
That's what these two, they every night they sit around, they talk to each other, they break each other's chops. And when I listen to them, and me and Shannon listen to them talk, like their personalities come out just in their conversations because Jack will be breaking his chops and being crazy and silly and Aiden like, will you stop? But they're still having fun. Their personalities come out in those conversations and we sit there and we laugh and I'm like, but then you break down what their personalities like where Aiden would always do, I guess do what he was told, do the coach told him to, where Jack would, as for, you say toe the line, he
would still do what the coach told him, but in his own way.
I say Jack always beats to his own drum, dude.
Yes. And that's Maddie.
And this kid will talk to anybody. Like his personality is just like, he said tonight, he called up, he was at work tonight. He works up at a Plated. He's a waiter, busboy, whatever the guy. The
great restaurant, by the way.
Amazing restaurant.
Fishkill, East Fishkill.
Yes. My son's a waiter / busboy there. Loves working up there. Like he texted Shannon tonight. He's like, oh, I'm talking to I'm serving, I'm a waiter here and somebody had to get their hair done. And I said, my mom does hair, so I gave you a card. So he's networking for my wife, but he took a risk. Whereas Aiden has a job where he works, and he's comfortable now there. But now he's kind of pointing like he doesn't really like it too much. But I don't think he has a risk taker enough to go to another job. Whereas Jack's like, get me another job at a restaurant. Walking, I don't care. Like he gets out of my car every single day, and he looks at that door. He goes, all right, Pops, I love you. Kisses me on the cheek, and he goes. And he puts that smile on his face. He literally kicks open the door of the restaurant like he owns the place.
But the great thing about your Jack and my Maddie is everyone still loved them.
Absolutely.
Because they might have went over the line,
yes,
but not in a disrespectful way. They're like, this is the path I'm blazing.
Yeah.
I'm still going to be respectful.
Yeah.
But Aiden and my Jack were more, or we're going to stay this far away from that line because that's how we are.
Like the three of us will be standing there. Aiden will look at Jack and they'll be like, Jack, I can't believe you just did that. I'm like, Aiden, what are you talking about? That was hysterical, dude. Yeah. It's like, it's like the both of them and just their personalities, but they're two great, great kids. And like I was telling them the other day, and just as watching them get older, like we're going on a trip. It's going to the other side of the United States. You're
going from the right to the left side of the United States. I'm just saying,
literally,
yes.
Literally. But we're going for we're going to take a drive. We're going to fly in and we're going to drive all the way down to the tip, and just the four of us. And they are so pumped. We're going to rent a car. We're going to do all the touristy stuff. We're going to hang out, and just me, Shannon, Jack, and Aiden. And it's just like the four of us are so pumped, and we're just going to like bond as a family. And I think that's important. You know what I mean? Like we always talk about family, Josh, and like, and I know your boys are the same way. Like you always say when Maddie's back and Jack and like, you guys are all hanging out, like you're cooking chicken cutlets for the kids. And my kids on a Friday night, literally we're sitting around the four of us in a living room, a really small living room with a big house, being like, we're all on top of each other just to watch a movie, just to break each other's chops. And I think that's important. Like the older they get, and even at the 18th and 16-year-old, where you think that you kind of lose them a little bit and they still want to hang with you. It's like, all right, this is pretty cool, man.
I realized, because Shannon, I've said before, Shannon and I thought we were too hard on them growing up, to where we set limits and they had repercussions for things they didn't do. But they still call us every night. They call Shannon more than me because the mom. They call them. They're two boys. They call their mom. I text them every night. They text me every night. Maddie texted me the other day, hey, did you see Florida Atlantic won in the final, get in the Final Four? It's just that type of thing. But getting back to what you were talking about with the COVID and that.
Right.
I think that just made a huge – people coped with it, but it exacerbated the ones that were afraid or restricted themselves, and that made it more on their kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like not everyone, a lot of people, no, everyone was afraid. We had no idea.
Yeah.
Again, I said before, the biggest fear of mankind is the unknown. This was a virus that came in and made it big. My point of view made it bigger than what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I let my kids know that. And again, it always dependent on your family.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to make it to where you're wearing a mask in your car with the four of you, do it.
Yeah.
But don't yell at me because I'm not riding in my car with my mask on with my family that I just spent the whole freaking day with.
I know. You know what I realized, that this country had gone insane, and we all fell in line. Like for a little while there, we literally all fell in line.
Because you didn't know.
I said it out loud probably mid-April. Now, Scott Ferris. Ferris. He doesn't listen to our show, but
screw you, Scott. You're not listening.
Whatever. So. Anyway, but me and him both looked at each other and realized how insane this was. When he called me up, we hadn't seen each other for like a week or two. Usually, he's like, "You want to go? You want to have a beer?" It's like, "Yeah, how are we gonna do that?" We got 2 chairs. We went down to my cul-de-sac over there, sat like maybe 5 feet apart from each other, and just sat in the cul-de-sac drinking a couple of beers and talking. Like we just literally within 5 minutes, like. Do you realize how insane this is right now that we're just...
All right. So it's funny you said that because I got my redneck ingenuity in.
Yeah.
And Pat, Sue, Craig, Christine, me, Shannon, Tammy, and Chris went to Pat and Sue's house. We didn't want to go in their house because God forbid we had the virus, again, air quotes, and pass it on to them. I took a 5-gallon... Home Depot bucket, put a pool noodle around it, pulled the handle off of it, put toilet paper on it, and then we built a little shed, not a shed, but what are those, the blinds where the old Asian people used to dress behind, put that around the 5-gallon Home Depot bucket so the women could go pee outside. That is what we did, because we were like, dude, and then we measured 6 feet around the fire pit to get 8 chairs around the fire pit.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to share dip.
Yeah.
So Shay and I brought our own dip.
Yeah.
And the other 3 families brought their own dip.
Yeah.
And that was the case. But we were like, we still got to see people, because it was just chaotic at that point.
Yeah. That again, that's a point in time. That's a point in my life that like you'll never forget. Like that year. Like I was saying to somebody the other day, and I guess we could talk about COVID for a couple of minutes. We haven't talked about it in a while, but I don't know if I told you, but I told somebody the other day. Again, another point in time when I thought the world was freaking crazy. I worked through it. You know,
So did I.
I worked through it, and we would go down every day to LaGuardia Airport. There was nobody on the road, literally nobody on the road. So there were days where I would drive down with my buddy. We'd drive to LaGuardia, and me and my four tight, really good friends, we worked our ass off all through COVID. Okay, and I realized how absolutely insane it was when there were days when I would drive down with one guy and he would go home and we'd work overtime. So I would have to take the train home. So Timmy, my partner, and friend Vinny and Jay, they would drop me off in the Bronx to get on the Metro North train. Now, mind you, this is probably, I want to say May, beginning of May, height of everybody's
2020. Yep. 2020. Yep.
Now, they dropped me off. Now, it was literally like Escape from New York. Or it was like Vanilla Sky. In the hood, even too, in the South Bronx, by Yankee Stadium, the hood.
Which is where I started to become a cop.
Nobody around at all on the street. I walked around. I went up the stairs, and one train was just coming. It was me and the conductor. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. That was like those 2 times in my life when I realized, like, this is crazy. I don't even know what's going on right now, because it was literally like that movie Vanilla Sky. I don't know if you saw it.
Yes, with Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise looked around and there was nobody around. I was like, shit, that's exactly the way it was. And then I would do that for a couple of weeks, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks in, like maybe it was like mid-May, maybe close to Memorial Day. There was still nobody on the streets, but I noticed, like, I'd be going to the train, they dropped me off, and there was like a bodega, like with spray painted front and like a little like glass. I'm like, what's going on? So there's nobody around. I'm in the hood. Like, what the hell is going on over there? So I saunter over there and I see some guy in a suit go out the back door. What's going on over here? Guy was selling ice cold beers. I'm talking the coldest beers I've ever had in my life. 22-ounce beers for $1. He was selling them right out of the cooler. He's just going, shh. Can you believe that? I'm like, there's humanity right there, dude.
Yeah.
Like $1, and might have been the coldest beer I've ever had in my life. $1 for a 22-ounce can of beer, and the only person in the entire South Bronx.
Now, see, you worked down in the city.
Yeah.
I worked in Westchester. Once I went out, I had to go down to a doctor in the city.
Right.
And that was the first time I was down in the city, was probably October of 2020.
Okay.
Rich, normally it would take us a half hour to get from the West Side Highway over to about 5th Street.
Okay.
Because you're going across the city.
Yeah.
It took us 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because there were no cars. There was no one in the city. And at that time, it was right around the election. So they had the street, the storefronts all covered with the wood because they were afraid of people breaking in and all that.
Right.
Do you remember? Were you down there?
Yeah, dude. It was crazy.
So it was literally like, what was that movie back in the day with something from New York?
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York.
Yeah.
It was like that.
I was going to say that, but I didn't think I was going to say that, but I didn't think you would know the reference. That's why I used Vanilla Sky.
Never saw the movie, but I know what the movie was.
Kurt Russell's first
movie.
But
Kurt Russell, yes.
Yeah, dude.
I drove down there, and Shay and I were like, this is eerie, because there was no time, no matter what time of day we went down to New York City, that there was no, I am not exaggerating, we might have saw 4 people going across the avenues.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
And you know that in normal day, you would have to sit there for 5 minutes while people were not following the crosswalk and just walking.
Yeah. Like, yeah. And I don't even remember, because again, I was working through the whole thing, and I don't even remember a time when it would start to come back. I think it would slowly start to come back. I don't even think it's fully come back yet.
It's not the same as it was. No.
Dude, I just, I watch the TV all the time, and you sound like an old curmudgeon sometimes when you say it, but like, it's getting really bad again, man. I mean, there was a time when, 42nd Street and the surrounding areas, like, they made it into like Disneyland. Like, they blocked off all the cars and all these, the stuffed animals running around, and Elmo and Disney Store and the movie theaters and the Wax Museum. And, it used to be old gritty, like, Times Square, like with the hookers and and the old record stores and, shit like that. But, it's kind of like a combination of dirty, filthy Disneyland where like Elmo's got dirt all over his face and he's talking Spanish to you, or this
Elmo and Big Bird are now fighting on the street corner because they're not getting the people to take the picture with them.
Those same benches that were lined like with people kind of hanging out and saying, "Oh, look at New York, how nice it is." Now there's people doing heroin back on them again. They're shooting heroin and they're down fentanyl and like the city it's all the way. It's across the board everywhere. I'm not just picking on New York City. But, all the big cities, like, and look, the shootings are going up again.
And it goes back to, and I hate to, we were talking about left and right, and I'm not getting into that, but the broken windows crime thing in New York changed New York. And that the broken windows meant we're going to look at the least big thing of crime and crack down on that. Because if you start at the bottom, it will work its way up.
Right.
So they got rid of the prostitutes on the corners, the bums washing your window every time you stopped. That's back. You get off the West Side Highway and you come off one of those and you get hit red light, you have at least 2 guys coming to wash your window for money.
Do you remember what happened back in 1988? The guy that killed the squeegee guy in front of Yankee Stadium? All right. Well, he's in my union, and he got out and he became an iron worker. And but he's in our union. Yeah, but I remember that, dude. Like, they would jump in front and they would spit on your window. And
yes, it wasn't. They're not pouring water or spraying water. They spit and they wipe your window down, and then they don't do it out of the good. They want money. They won't let you pull away until you give them money for them spitting on your window and wiping it down.
But you know what, though? At one time, that became an act of kindness. Now, where do you think, like I said, like anything, you start handing $1 to this person. Again, people start getting paid to do so. I think at some point that, everything comes from somewhere. So I think at some point, maybe like there must have been like, "Oh, I'm sorry, your window's dirty." And like, thank you. And like, you just go away. And at some point, maybe somebody gave that person a tip. Then all of a sudden somebody was like, "Oh, we can make money doing that." There's always like, it just seems like even with window washing, there's always a scheme when it comes to like money. Like at one point it had to be an act of kindness, don't you think?
Yeah, but now it's not. They expect. No one does anything down there now just out of the good of their heart. They want something in return.
No. And never is it more evident, Josh, and like, I don't want to get too political, but never is it more evident when there's a disaster, okay? Or when there's like a blackout, or when there's something happens to a community. Cases of water go up to like $40. Gas goes up to like $9. Kerosene or whatever you need to light everything, supply and demand, obviously. But the demand always goes through the roof when the supply gets down.
Yes, no. Because Shan and I were just down in New Jersey. What's today? Sunday? Friday night. She got off work. We drove down to New Jersey. I paid $2.95 per gallon.
Great.
I guarantee you in 3 weeks when it gets warmer, it's going to be up over $3.50 in New Jersey, which means it's going to be closer to $4 here. It's not supply and demand. It's just we got to make the money.
I hope not. I hope not, because it just, it just, we're a nation of wealth. It's like, and the wealthy that have it, and then like, listen, we get to go on vacations every year, and our bills are paid, and
right,
but it's just like the contrast is like crazy, and like I guess we could get political another night, but we went off a tangent from families, but it's true though, dude. I mean, and it really doesn't matter, Josh. Like, who's there. And again,
no, and I said that before. It doesn't matter to me. And I told my boys, and I told you on this podcast when Biden got elected, man, I was like, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
The same thing I've been doing since you've been born, bud. Waking up, going to work, coming home, and making sure we have what we have.
Yeah.
And thank God I can do that, because some people can't. It doesn't matter who's the president. Yes, he's a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
And everyone that can support him, I apologize. He's a bumbling idiot. And if you support him, you're just doing it because you voted for him.
Whoa. No,
You
you're
know
right,
what I'm
Josh.
saying?
No, you're
And
right.
you can call in, you can say what you want.
Yeah.
But he is not a president that you're like, that's my president.
Right.
You just vote on him because he's not Donald Trump.
Right. But I also think that that could be said about the other side too. Like I think politicians getting elected these days because they're not the other person, not because of who they are.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that could get really, really slippery slope, or really, really dangerous because it's just is that how we're going to start electing our politicians and our leaders by saying like, well, you suck, so let's just try this guy. And so we're not going to have any kind of consistency in any of our political.
It shouldn't be Democrat and Republican at this time. It should be who's best.
Yeah.
And we all vote for that best person.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, and people are going to call in or not call in because I don't know who's listening, but
yeah.
I don't want Trump to run because I know if he runs, a Democrat will get elected again. I want DeSantis to run because he gives us, not us, Republicans, the best chance to get a Republican back in.
Right.
If Trump is the front runner and going against anyone else, Republicans won't back him because of who he is.
Yeah, I know, and that's what sucks, dude. Because again, I know. Listen, I know, like you see, when we talk about politics, I know you feel one way, and I feel sort of that way, but I have kind of like,
dude, we feel the same way.
Yeah,
I grew up Democrat, raised in middle blue collared Pennsylvania, where the caucus came.
Yeah,
Jesse Jackson came. They were the Democrats we supported because they supported the middle class.
But don't you think that I really just I really think that everything gets lost in it's a big gray area. Everything is a huge gray area because the whole gray area being like, the person that gets elected for each side. Okay. The primary is a prime example. Okay. When you go running through the primary for the Republicans and the Democrats, they're chewing each other's throats out, like literally trying to get that job. They will say anything. They'll say, like, look at, what do you call it? Trump was saying, calling, what's his name's wife ugly, whatever. But anyway, but at the end of the day, those people that Trump said heinous things about their families and shit put their tail between their legs and they voted for him. Now, that to me is not the definition of a democracy.
No,
because democracy isn't like, those guys didn't want to vote for Donald Trump.
Some of them didn't because he was Donald Trump.
The point I'm making though is, but then why on the other end, when you go through the other end, why is it so easy for somebody like Hillary Clinton to take a woman like Tulsi Gabbard and just put her all the way to the bottom of the pile with just a phone call? Now, the people that are in charge, it's not like left or right. It's like, who's ever charging that political party. Like, and again, I had this conversation with somebody the other day. Every time you start talking about gas prices, everybody automatically assumes that you're a Republican. If you say the gas price, or if you talk about the green, or if you talk about solar panels, you talk about electric cars, everybody
green energy
assumes. Now, the way I think about that, people are so focused on the fact that, the Republicans want gas and the Democrats want green energy. How about the fact that the Democrats are making a shit ton of money on the Green Act and the fucking Republicans are making a shit ton of money on OPEC and all that gas shit? So instead of focusing on what's better, maybe they're both bad. Who knows? But people are making money because, like I said, people say, oh, this is great for the environment. Yeah, it's great for the environment. But nobody's pushing an agenda unless there's money involved. And both sides, just because we've been using gas and oil for so much longer than this green energy, it's just getting out of hand right now to a point where nobody can even say anything because we have to use a car.
They're lining their pockets with the pork barrel money. They run on our beliefs. But once they get elected, they don't care what we want them to do. They go by what they're getting paid to do.
Right.
And Russell Brand put something out, and now I know he's an ex-heroin addict and all this. But he went on Bill Maher, and he said he's not American. He's not Republican. He's not Democrat. And I'm going to send it to you. But he said, if you continue to allow your politicians to get paid by certain entities, pharmaceutical, electrical, gas, they're going to sway their vote one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it's 100% true.
China's a perfect example
all
of that,
politicians will say what voters want to hear to get into office. And then after that, they do what they get paid to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, and that's what it's about. It's about getting paid. Like I said, on both sides, that's the agenda. That's what all the money is. It's all in those agendas. It's all pushing those. Look, do I think that the Green Act is good in some aspects? Yeah, sure.
100%.
Yeah, sure. But then you get to talk to somebody who says, well, do you know how much energy it takes to build those batteries? All right, dude. But so what's the answer, man? So you know what, though? If you think I'm such an asshole for driving an electric car, I think you're a douche for driving one of them big, those big diesel trucks.
Yep.
So I think you're a douche for that. I don't really say it, but that could be my argument. So that's just the point is, okay, so I have an electric car, which I don't. I'm just taking that argument for lack of an argument. And you just drive around with your big American flags and your diesel truck. So that makes you more American than me because of that? No, man. It's like, just don't. Again, it's a big stamp or a label. If you go and you back a certain agenda, you're labeled a liberal or you're labeled a conservative. I can't go.
But what kills me is, look at New York City right now. They have blackouts every hot summer night.
Right.
Blackouts.
Yeah.
But now AOC and all the Democrats want to push for all electric in the city. All the restaurants that were running on gas stoves, gas ovens, all the buildings that were running on gas heat now have to be converted to electric.
That's an agenda, dude.
Did they upgrade that grid that was blacking out every hot summer day when they turned on the air conditioning? No, because you know how much money it would cost for New York City to upgrade their electrical grid?
Yeah.
But now they're expecting all these landlords, all these people that own buildings, all these restaurants to convert to just electric. They can't support what they have now, not to mention the thousands of people that have now migrated to New York City.
Yeah.
How are they supporting that?
It's a clusterfuck. It's a shit show because the fact. Look, everybody says, why do we have these problems now? Everybody says, why do we have blackouts all the time? Everybody says, why do we have a homeless problem? Why do we have a drug problem? Why is it filthy? Why are the cities filthy? So all these things that people complain about all the time that they want these politicians to do about. Look at the population of New York City from 1975 to 2023. It's, quadrupled, times 10, whatever it may be. There's so many more people in New York City, which is fine. But just by welcoming them in, it's and it's just adding more on top of it. So the burden in New York City for all these people. So I don't understand why there's such like a left leaning way of thinking down in New York City because of the fact that your city is being overrun by things that are just being let happen. Like, again, I'll say it out loud. I don't understand the migrant thing. I don't understand it. I just don't. And I'm not a terrible person for saying, like, these guys, they're picking and choosing where they're staying. Like, DeSantis and his Texas guy are driving these guys on buses up to these liberal states. Like, it's a clusterfuck, and it has nothing to do with anything but the fact that it's all about money and making another party look bad. Because
100%.
Why are these people here? Why? And
they're coming to make a better life.
Josh, I know.
But do it the right way.
I understand
and
that.
And people say we were all immigrants. Yes. But the majority of the people that came were legal immigrants. They came, they signed, they got their cards, they did this. Now they're flooding in illegally, which is against the law, and coming up.
Josh, I'm trying to look at it from a humanitarian aspect. I'm trying to look at this from a humanitarian aspect because you'll talk to somebody that's extremely left-leaning and be like, they're human beings.
100%.
We have to.
No,
we don't.
No.
It just because you know why? Because when we start doing that stuff, yes, we're going to be known as a nation of welcoming. We welcome everybody. That's fine. If you want to be known to that, then we're just going to get our asses kicked because everybody's going to think we're a bunch of pussies. Okay. So, but the more we give, the less we get. And we're not getting anything anymore because we're giving too much. And I hate to sound like a selfish American or a selfish New Yorker or whatever you're going to fucking call me. We have to be selfish. We have to be because I'm tired of people going, these people coming into the country or going to other countries. Our military lacking because we have to be in other places because we have to police other countries. And the whole war thing, I just don't want to, I don't know, man. Like, why, you know what though? You want to, I hear you. Now you got me on a tangent. Now. You want to protect the fucking borders? Bring our guys home. Pay them to surround the country, not in a way where like a lineup where the Nazis.
Right.
Set them up where they can have jobs. You know what I mean? And you know what though? Set them up where they could come home and set them up in our schools.
Come in legally. Well, I'm for that. But what gets me is, didn't Adams just say he wants to give all these illegals that came in free education? Did you just see that? He just said that. He wants to give them free high school, free college. Why is someone that just illegally came into the U.S. going to be given free education when I worked my ass off, my wife worked her ass off, and my sons can't even get grants because we made too much money. So now I have to take their student loans and pay for them to go to school. Yet someone that crossed our border illegally and was bused to New York City is now getting a New York college education for free. Why is that, pardon my French, fucking right? It's not right.
But you know what? The humanitarian podcast mind is just thinking you're going to talk to somebody who has to say oh, they deserve. But the thing is, they have to realize that we're not getting stuff, or we're paying more for stuff and not getting stuff because we're giving away too much.
Nothing is free in the United States. Man. They will say it's free education, but someone is paying for it. And you know who's paying for it? The people that are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's starting to get to the point where you start to question, should I try to do the right thing, or should I just try to find this loophole and save myself money because everyone else is? Shannon's raised, do the right thing. But doing the right thing, you get screwed more and more nowadays for doing the right thing.
Yeah. You know what though? Doing the right thing is a very strong comment, because you really just do the right thing for yourself and for your family. Because if you think too much about doing the right thing and having to worry about everybody else in society, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because you have to worry about what goes on in your four walls. Even like I say to my wife, politically, okay, you could people run around with their flags and they pin their names to that one person. Where I say to Shannon, we're not going into a voter booth and saying that we're this party, so just look at what's going on there. Bounce around a little bit, or find out and read what they're doing, because that's what they want you to do. They want you to go in there and just hit every button. But you really got to, because you got to find out what's best for the four walls of our home.
But the majority of people don't do that. They just vote along the party line. They don't educate themselves on who believes in what. It's Republican, Democrat, I'm voting that. But when I said about doing the right thing, I mean doing the right thing in society. I don't mean doing the right thing for you, I teach my kids, do what you think is the right thing.
Yeah.
Not for yourself, but if 10 people were in this situation, what would 9 of them say? That's what you should do. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's what doing the right thing is. I don't mean do the right thing for yourself, because a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
All right, if there were 10 people going, all right, we're in the same situation, what would 9 of them do? That's what I should do.
Yeah. But all right, how about this though? What if you're that person because that's a personality type. What if you're that person that knows that's the right thing to do, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do what I want to do anyway. Now, is that person a risk taker? Or is that person just saying you know what, forget about everybody else? Is that person selfish? No, that's what I'm saying.
No, I know. Yeah.
You know what's a perfect example? Because say what you do for a living, or
yeah.
Okay, you're a police officer. Your job is to be selfish. You're not selfish.
No.
Your job is to be the exact opposite of selfish. No matter what happens, you have to put your life out there, and even for a person that's a piece of garbage.
Yep.
Okay, so you have selfless, I guess you would call it, right? Okay, now me. Okay, I build skyscrapers in New York City. If I'm walking down the street and I see a bum and he's bleeding, and I guess maybe the right thing to do would pick him up and get him all cleaned up. But no, I'm going to go home to my family. This guy's probably got all sorts of diseases. Right. He's bleeding. But I could just say, fuck it. and I go home because I don't want to bring back my family. You can't because, if,
No, actually, I can.
what if I'm saying, what if you're in uniform at the time?
Uniform, I got to call it in.
But that's what I mean. I could be in my
yes.
boots and hard hat and be like, scale out of here.
And I've experienced that throughout being on duty, off duty. But it's not because I'm a cop. It's because of how I was raised.
Right.
I get paid to be a police officer. I don't consider myself a police officer. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a son. That's who I am. Right. I get paid to be a cop.
Okay.
But I police based upon how I was raised. Okay. And I treat everyone the same way. And even, like I said, I was up in my hometown giving out a scholarship for my buddy, and my mom and I are driving under this bridge. And just by chance, I look up and I see someone sitting on an overpass. I'm like, that's weird. My mom didn't notice it. Me and Shannon makes fun of me because she goes, "Oh, your cop voice, oh, your cop intuition."
Right. Is that what that was?
I get under the bridge. I'm like, "Mom, did you see the person?" She's like, "No, I called 911. It was someone about to commit suicide."
Wow. The
cops got there. She didn't commit suicide. That's happened multiple times to me. And it's not because I was a cop. It is because I was a cop. Because I was trained to be observant of everything. When I go into a restaurant, I look at all the seating. I sit to my back against the window so I can see all the exits. Okay. I wasn't raised that way.
Right.
But Shannon, her dad is a cop. He retired from New York City.
Right.
Same thing. Him and I have to fight over the seat with our back against the window.
Right. See, it's funny. It's funny you say that. Okay. Now you just said that that when you go to a restaurant, because of you're a police officer background, you sit down, you have to see all the exits. Now, I'm not a police officer, but I feel the same way. Like I feel the same way when I walk into a restaurant. This was even like before I was married with my kids. I just felt like I couldn't have my back to an open area. I always had to have my back to the wall, and for different reasons.
Right.
You know what I mean? So. I guess like for lack of a better term, I think that's the kind of person. Maybe that's the kind of person you are. So you didn't like it and inherit it just because you became a cop. You didn't get that mentality.
I wasn't like that before I was a cop, though.
See, I was. Well, I was like that ever since I can remember. Well, yeah, ever since I can remember. So my 20s, I've been like that since. You know what I mean? So it's just, and I always have to know like who was around, and that just carried on. That's carried on to yesterday, just sitting down in a restaurant. You know what I mean? And they all know too. My kid, and they make fun of me. And Jack.
So Shannon.
Jack even says to me one day, like Jack turned to me, he's like, "Dad, when am I going to be the one that gets to sit there and watch the doors?" It's like, Jack, you can sit right next to me. It's like, "Dad, you don't have to worry about anything." Yeah. Like, I told you the other day, I was walking next to the two of them the other day. They're huge. I was like, I don't have to worry about anything. But that goes now. That talks about like a behavior of being a father or being a person. Like once I had kids, then I instantaneously became that protector. Right. Whereas before I had the kids, when I would go to a restaurant, it was because of, me. But now that I have the kids, I feel like I have to be always in that protector mode.
No, to me, no. Yes, I'm protective of my family and my friends. But another story, we were down in Puerto Morelos, Mexico at a resort. And there's one side that's kids, another side's adults. So we're standing in this pool and they have this guy comes in with a monkey on his shoulder. All the kids are taking pictures. And I see this probably 3-year-old girl running around in the pool area. And everyone's looking at the guy with the monkeys. And it was one of those pools that had up to my shins, but then there was a wall that dropped down to like your chest high. Okay. So I'm sitting there and everyone's looking at the monkey and I see this girl and then I see who's watching her because she's just by herself. And again, as a dad, I'm like, why is this little girl by herself running around the pool? Next thing I know, I see this elderly lady stand up and I look and the girl fell over the wall and is now sinking down to the bottom. Yeah. I'm running she tries to run. I start running through the water in my flip-flops. They fall off and there's people in the water by her, but they were looking at the monkey guy. I jump over, dive, grab her by the hair, pull her up, and the grandmother goes, "Oh, thank you, thank you." Hand her off. There you go. People are like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, no." Wow. But I think that was not of me being raised, but more of as a police officer, knowing your surroundings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like there's this little girl and I saw the grandmother stand up and the look of fear. As a parent, that look of fear, I'm like, all right, what happened? I look and I see the girl start sinking.
Yeah.
So I just start running, go grab her, dive over the wall, grab her, pick her up.
Yeah.
Now to me, that was nothing. I just did that. But my buddy was like, dude, you just saved someone's life. I'm like, no, a little girl fell. He's like, no, she was drowning. I'm like, no, and just went on about my day.
Yeah. See that, you know what? That's just, it's just to me, like when you describe it like that, like I hear what you're saying, but like, I agree with you 1,000%, but I see, you know what? I see it as a fight or flight thing, to be honest with you, that I'm trying to find like the right mentality to describe how I'm feeling. Like you're looking at from, all right, put it this way, like what you just described to me about about saving the girl or whatever the situation may be. It's like, you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart. Like all of a sudden you got to spring into action. Now, me, I look at, I'm thinking of the same exact story, but maybe the little girl's different, but maybe like a fight or flight mentality. Like it's like, if I don't fight my way out of something, something may happen. So once you have kids, that fight or flight mentality becomes more of a bigger chest, like, because you have more to protect. But when you're younger and you're walking around and like, you see a situation like, fight or flight mentality, like that goes on your head. And I think as you get older and once you become that, like, it's more of like protecting yourself. It becomes more protecting the kids. I don't know if I'm babbling, but I think that's where I see your story. And I hear your story as, you became a cop. Now I see that story as growing up being like, what the hell is going to happen? It's just like the same mentality, just comes from a different place.
Right. But I never think of it as myself. You know what I'm saying?
I stopped thinking of it as myself. That's the point that I was trying to make. At one point, it was myself. Then at one point, probably when I met Shannon, me and Shannon got really serious, then it started to become not about me. And then especially when I had the kids, it's not about me. Okay, how about this? The fight or flight mentality now is the fight or flight mentality is I got to fight my way out of this. And I'm going to fight my way out of this. So now you kick back a little bit. Now you have a wife and kids. I'll take a bullet for them. I'll die for them as opposed to fighting for them. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
It's a different way of looking at things. It's fighting, or if someone's shooting and a bullet's coming at my son, I'll jump in front and I would die for that.
No question asked.
So it's a different mentality, I think, as you get older as a man.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. I don't think, talking about men's personalities, and I don't think the profession you choose, you become. You always have that inherently in you. It takes something to bring it out. Like, I'm going to go back to my son Aiden for a second. Now, my son Aiden, their personalities. Jack, I told you, he's in your face. He's gonna go and get something. Now, Aiden is a little more reserved. By when I say he's a little more reserved, I say he wants something, but he's a little, he might try it. But then if he tries it and he's good at it, then he's confident as hell.
Right.
So that's what I mean. Like, he needs that little boost. Whereas like a lot of people are just like, they're going to just go get it. Where once they realize they can, then they're very confident.
Right. Now, but getting back to, I understand what you're saying, but when you first met me, were you like, oh, he's a cop?
I think you were a cop when I first met you. No, I didn't. But
there are a lot of cops that that you're like, they're cops.
Mm-hmm.
That's because that's their identity. I became a cop because I already had Jack.
You know what?
Matt was in Shannon's belly.
Mm-hmm.
I needed a pension. I needed medical. That's why I became a cop. I didn't become a cop because I was picked on in high school. Because, a lot of people think, oh, cops are all assholes. They have an ego boost in this. No, dude, I became a cop because I had a kid. I had another kid in the way. I needed a pension.
Yeah.
I needed medical. And I treat everyone that same way. Because good people make bad decisions. Bad people make bad decisions.
Yeah, because, and you're right about that. Because I come from a family full of cops. And none of them are that, look at me, I'm a cop. All the people I know that are cops, you would never think. Well, like I said, not even never think, because it didn't become part of their personalities. Like everybody I know, like you and, and the other guys and, like my father and my uncles and every person in my life, Gallagher, like, guys like that. It's like I would never even thought that guy was a cop, but he was a really, really good cop. And I think guys that have to, I look at me, I'm a cop. I don't know why they would do that, but I think it's the guys that, like, oh, wow, shit, you're a cop. Yeah. It's like, and when and again, the cops having in New York City, when the cops switched over that they had to have college. And I know I said this a couple of weeks ago to you, but I think when the cops in New York City said, all right, you need 60 college credits to become a police officer, you're not getting neighborhood guys getting that job anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which was what they wanted.
Right. But you're not getting guys like you getting, well, I'm saying, you know what I mean?
I had college credits.
No, what I mean though, Josh, is like guys like you, like when you were a kid, like you didn't think you were going to be a cop. Right. You're just from the neighborhood. You know, you got to a couple fights in high school and you just knew how to like, oh shit, maybe I could be a cop. Not like studying for your tests and this, that, and the other thing, but you know, it takes on a certain personality trait and you're like, oh, wow, you know what? I can provide for my family. I was like, you know what? It's just the right thing to do. And then you just become cops. Like, I can't really think of any, I know a lot of cops that you look at that person like, wow, maybe it's one guy that you don't know. But yeah. No.
See, I know quite a few that are cops outside of their, when I left work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's because I came home to Shannon. Her and I have a great relationship. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that can't leave work and come home and leave work at work.
Right.
I can talk to her. Now, mind you, I'm here right now because I've been out of work. I got injured. I have 75% loss in my left arm. I'm left-handed. I've been stuck home for 2 years, Monday through Friday. I have no vent. That's why I'm here right now.
Yeah.
Because as a middle-aged man, there's so much stuff that goes on in your own head. You need to get it out. This is how I get it out. I can talk to Shan. We're good. I love her. But you and I sitting here talking, I can get out stuff that I need to get out.
Yeah, and you make a good point about that because I've been saying for a long time, like, this is the way I feel. Like, the way you said you have to get it out. This is why I'm doing this because I feel like sometimes, like, I feel like you have doors in your head, like, for different shit. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, a door will open up and you're like, that back in there. But I just felt like at a certain point, like within the last year sometime, I just felt like all the doors in my head would just open all at once. So what I was thinking about, I was like, wait a second, let me just leave these open and just start talking about it. And instead of closing them and saying, you know, putting them away for maybe when I'm 60, I'll let them open again. No, how about, all right, these are open. All right, so now instead of yelling at my wife about something that she did nothing, or yelling at my son for something, or fighting with my buddy, I'll say it, fighting with my buddy Timmy at work, you know, for nothing, just because I'm just, you know, at the moment, you know, and why don't you just leave them open and talk about it? Because once they're open, you know, just, that's what I said, like, you bring up a good thing. Like, this is why this is good for me and you. And I got to tell you, and I think me and you we express ourselves pretty much the same way because we really don't care. Like, we're not going to sit here and tell you some kind of textbook dictionary definition of why we're crazy. But I'm going to tell you my doors are open. You're going to tell you you just feel like you have to get it out. And that's what this is good for, man, because this is like the last bad. Me and you could sit here and bullshit. Like, I don't care if there's 5 people or 5,000 people. I don't care if
there's no one listening.
This is therapeutic, Josh. And that's first and foremost, it's therapeutic to get all this shit out.
Because we spoke about the other day when you were at the house. We're men, and unfortunately, we're raised to where we're the protector of the family. We're supposed to support, supply, do everything for the family. And then, like you said, the door's opening. When you suppress stuff, it manifests into something else. I don't care who you are, male or female. If you don't get that out of you and you push it down, it will manifest into alcoholism, addiction, adultery, something. It comes out. And like you said, you can push down this little thing, then push down this little thing. And then someone else that was not even involved with the little things you're pushing down, they do something, all that comes out.
Yeah. And you know where it's evident too, and you might be able to attest to this too, is like when your kids start getting older and you see them saying stuff and doing things, not like little idiosyncrasies that you want to get rid of when you were young. It's like, whoa, it's like, holy shit. Like, you know, it's like when you told them, stop doing that. And then like it hits you like, holy shit, I used to do that. Like, you know, then it's like, wow, this is just like kind of like, all right. Even if it's a good behavior or a bad, even if it's a bad behavior, we can recognize it. You know, if it's a good behavior, it's like, wow, that's cool.
Rich, my wife bought this little plaque that's now on top of our hutch.
Yeah.
And it says, sometimes when I open my mouth, my mom comes out. Her mom read that, goes, what does that mean? Shannon goes, I'm not even going to explain.
That same plaque.
Because that's what, my dad gave me good traits. He gave me bad traits.
Yeah.
And I see the same thing in my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I have a temper sometimes. When you get to a certain point, it comes out.
Yeah.
I see it with Jack. I see it with Matt. I see the same things that Shannon has, good and bad, come out in the boys also.
Yeah.
But if we didn't have this, dude, being home Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, every week for 2 years, dude, you go and I'm talking to the dogs. You know, Shannon's like, why are you going over to Rich's at 8:30 on a Sunday? 7:30. I'm like, because I have to.
You know what's funny too, and you bring up something too about the boys and recognizing like your temper. Me, I have a temper as well. But I think that I can speak for my two boys. My two boys deal with their tempers differently. And what's good about knowing the signs of having a temper that you see how they're going to deal with it is like, wait a second. It's like, I know when Aiden's getting mad, I know to deal with him like this. I know when Jack's getting mad, I know to deal with him like this. I can't deal with them the same way.
Nope.
But when it does get crazy is the two of them having just a dumb argument about something stupid, and then they start cursing at each other. Then they start swinging punches, and I'll let it go for a little while, but they're getting big right now. So then I just start saying crazy shit. Like, you guys shut the rah. Then I just start I don't even know what I say. And like, Dad, how the hell did you just say that to me? He's like, you got me that point.
Right.
Where I was so mad because I let it go for a little while. And then, what do you call it? Jack turns to me the other night and says, Dad, we get headgear and boxing gloves? I'm afraid they'll hurt each other. But you know what? Why not? Let it box.
Great story. Because when I was 17, senior in high school,
I was going to do it to them a long time. I'm sorry, Josh, but just before I forget this thought, I was going to do this probably 4 or 5 years ago when they were younger. But it was kind of like, I didn't think they were really going to do it. Like, I was like, then all of a sudden Jack turns and when are you going to get the gloves? And I said, I'm not going to get them. Just like now they're bigger. And Jack brings us up again the other day. He goes, just put us in the backyard. We're not going to kill each other. It's like, let us just fight. You know what? Maybe I might let him just fight.
My dad got me a set of gloves. And my buddies and I would go in the basement and we would box. Yeah. And there was one time, and my dad, I don't know if you know him, he's like 5'5". I'm 5'9" as a senior in high school. 18 years old. Thinking I'm the cock of the walk. He says something one day. I'm like, let's throw the gloves on, Dad. He goes, you don't want to. I'm like, no, let's do it. 4 inches taller, bigger than him. He put the gloves on. And he was like Rascally Rabbit. He went ding, ding. 15 punches were thrown. I threw 1. I got hit 14 times. I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just that. He's like, and I saw a video the other day of a guy who was like, my dad came in, kept telling me to be quiet with my kids in high school. Be quiet, be quiet. And he goes, finally, he came in front of my friends and he goes, come talk to me. He goes, I walked out. I didn't want to give him my back. We walked outside. He goes, hey. Whenever you want to shot the title, let me know.
Oh my God.
Until then, listen to me.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Kids in high school think there's old man strength. Yeah. There's knowledge. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
When you want to shot the title, let me know.
I'm gonna tell you a quick story about man strength in a second. In a second. When me and I first met my wife. Okay, light years ago. I met my wife, my lovely wife. And one of our first dates, we went out to dinner, and we had a good time. We met a couple of people out. So we go to down the hatch in Connecticut. Okay, so we're hanging out, we're partying, we're having a good time. It's me and my wife. It's like our sister was there, my friend Kevin Orbs was there. And actually, as a matter of fact,
is he on right now?
No, he's not on, but he could attest to this story. Okay, now what do you call it? He's there, and a bunch of us. We're hanging out, we're having a good time. So there's this guy there, and he spills a drink on our friend. Now, she's a big, tall girl. She's crazy. I forgot her name. But she turns around and says, what the hell did you do? And it was a different guy. So she swings a punch at this guy, right? Misses, I think. And then the other guy turns around that spilled the drink on her, spilled it on her again on purpose. So a melee breaks out, right? So we turn around and we throw a punch. Kevin throws a punch. Now I'm starting to move down and I grab the one guy that spilled the drink and I go to cock my hand back. Now, when I tell you that I hit the ground in literally like a half a second, okay? Like all I remember is seeing the guy going like this, and I was on the ground face first, my hand back behind my head. I'm like, what the hell just happened? I look up. Is this literally this guy that says United States Marine Corps, Vietnam veteran, old gray-haired guy with his thumb in my mouth. My cheek was on the floor.
Number one, that's called a fish hook.
Bro, this guy was like 5'5", 5'6". But I tell you, I never hit the ground faster in my entire life. I went from this to the floor in half a second. And I'll be honest with you, he was the bouncer. I didn't really hurt that much either, to be completely honest with you. But I couldn't move. The guy I was like, yo, I was like, all right, I'm good, man. I'm good. I was like, yo, bro, you're like 70 years old, dude. He's like, just don't fuck with me, bro. I was like, all right, I'm going. I'm out of here.
Because they know how to do stuff without getting injured.
I've gotten punched in the face. I've gotten hit, whatever, but never quicker down to the ground than that 60-year-old man did that to me. I was like, what the hell? It's unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's that old man strength, though.
100%. But, dude, I'm telling you right now, I needed this because I told you we're going to be doing the Teague interview at my house.
Yeah.
My basement, my basement, converted into a bar.
Yes.
So since Christmas, we have, not shitting you, under our garage is a little storage compartment. We had 23 totes of Christmas decorations. Not counting every other holiday and everything the boys had growing up. So I'm the one that decorates every year.
Yeah.
And I have them labeled. 14 of them are labeled that I put out every year.
Yeah.
I take pictures because I know my wife likes things a certain, and we said, happy wife, happy life. And people say that, apologize, but pussy whipped. No.
Right.
I just know what to deal with, what not to deal with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I have the totes. They're all labeled. I put 3 in the living room, 2 in the dining room, 1 in the kitchen, so-and-so, up and decorate. So I finally got down because every time we get something new, just put it in the basement under the garage. Put it in the basement under the garage. How many fucking lamps do you need? If we just bought new lamps, why do we need to store the old ones? Because how many lamps have you broken that you're like, oh, grab the old one and put back out?
I'm going through that right now because we're starting to get rid of a lot of stuff.
So I finally got fed up. When we first moved over, we had all these totes in the basement. When I converted it into the man cave, when she was at work one day, threw the shit away. And guess what? She never missed it. So now they're in the basement. I'm like, finally, 3 months later, I'm like, babe, we got to go through this stuff.
Yeah.
So we went through it. And she's like, oh no, this is this is from the boys. This is a memory box. Now, mind you, we went from 8 totes to 3.
Okay.
To me, accomplishment.
Yes.
I got rid of a lot of the stuff.
Yes.
And I told her, I said, babe, all right. She's like, we didn't put this out this year. We'll put it out next year. I said, all right, if we don't put it out next year, I'm throwing it away. She goes, okay. It's marked. We're saving this on the podcast. It's getting thrown away. But it's just that stuff where it's like, happy life, happy wife, happy life. It's like, no, I'm putting my foot down. We got to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 months of seeing it down there. She doesn't go in the basement. I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, babe, we're doing it today. Let's go for a walk in the woods. Let's do this. I'm like, stop procrastinating. We're dealing with this tonight. And Renee came over and he took half the stuff that I was going to throw away. He's like, I'll decorate. I'm like, all right. But he would laugh every time she goes, oh, this is a memory.
Yeah.
This is a memory.
Yeah. That's Josh, that's the key. If you're going to get rid of stuff that they haven't seen in a really long time, just throw it out. They'll never ask for it.
The first time when we moved, it sat in the basement.
I know I just gave away my secret, but Shannon doesn't listen anyway.
For 4 years, it sat in the basement. And then finally, when she's like, let's convert this to a man cave, I'm like, all right. She went to work. I took the ones that I never opened in the 4 years we moved and just threw away. Because guess what? If you didn't open it in 4 years, you don't need it. And I know this for a fact. My mom and dad got divorced. They moved. My mom had all this stuff saved for me and for my sister. The stuff that she wanted to give to me, I didn't want, because guess what? I had the same shit saved for my sons. And I realized they're not going to want it. Those stuffed animals that they had when they were babies, they don't want it.
No. I just threw a big bag of stuffed animals away like a couple of weeks ago.
It made me realize.
I'm talking a 55-gallon bag of stuffed animals. I threw them in the garbage.
Yeah. I have 2 totes.
You know what? And I don't feel bad at all. You want to hear something crazy? I'm sorry. No. This is a crazy story about throwing shit away. Now, just again, I do it periodically. I just get a whole bag of shit and I just throw it in the garbage. Maybe I said this before. But I'm talking maybe, I don't know, Aiden's 18, Jack's 16. So let's go maybe 10 years. Let's go 10 years ago. I get the thing. I throw it in the garbage, okay? It was a Woody doll. It was broken or whatever. So, okay, throw it in the garbage, okay? Do you know that every single year that I blow leaves or get rid of get rid of the snow, the hat from that Woody doll turns up in my backyard every single year. I must have lost it or whatever. So every time I find it, I just don't pay it any mind and I just continue with my business. You know, and I blow it or whatever. Every single year it turns up over by the corner of I can't get like I can pick it up and throw it in the garbage, but I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's play a little game here.
Right.
10 years, like clock. I just saw it the other day when I was getting rid of some leaves off the side of the house because I'm going to do some landscaping over there. It turned up again. I couldn't believe it. It's like it always. So I just picked it up literally and I just throw it in my backyard like that, and it always turns up. Crazy shit in the world. I don't know. Listen, it's an hour and 15 minutes in, and you just mentioned happy wife, happy life, because we got to talk about that next time because I got some history on happy wife, happy life. I got some history on stuff like that. So we could talk about an hour on happy wife, happy life.
Yes. Let's go next time.
Perfect.
And I want women to call in and tell us their side of the story.
I am going
because it's not us being pussy whipped,
yes,
or just kowtowing to our wives.
How about this, Josh? Let me ask you a question. I got this new microphone now. I want to say this to everybody out there. This new fancy mic where I can push a button and 4 people. Why don't we see if we get both of them on here? Put a microphone in the middle of the table and just 4 of us just chit chat.
Because I tell you right now, my wife won't do it.
No, my wife. I'm so close to getting her on.
They're both called Shannon. They're both Irish.
Yeah. Listen, as much as like my wife would be a star on a podcast, and she has
she can talk.
Idea how much
she can talk. I know that. My wife's more reserved, and
you know what I said to her? I said, and I really do mean this. Like, you know, this is shooting the breeze. Listen. Like every relationship, we fight. You know, everybody fights. If you don't fight, you're lying. Okay.
There is no happy marriage.
Yes, I'm very happy.
You don't see his face. You don't see his face. No, you can be happy,
no, right?
But it's not a 50-50. It's 100-100.
Right. My wife said to me the other day, and she says, a marriage isn't just all about everything that's happy. It's the bad stuff too. It's the struggle stuff too. It's the arguing too. It's the fighting.
It's work.
Too. Yes. And I said to her, I said, you know what though? And I really mean this. I said, you know what though? We fight about the silliest shit, and we fight about, why don't we just sit down after a big fight? Why don't we just put the microphone on? Like, and just really talk about what we were fighting about. Really say like,
and you know what? You don't have to post it. No, but I just talk about it.
No, I'd want to post it because who knows? The people down the street might be like, we were fighting about that silly shit. Because everybody likes to say that they got all this, like, this great life and like everything.
And guess what? Those people that do that, especially now, and we were talking about earlier with the kids, the life they have now, and with like you were talking about, they're not going to college and doing other stuff. They have more options than we had.
Yeah.
And with the internet and that, all those people that are putting out all those posts about them all so happy, they're not that fucking happy. I hate to say it, they're not as happy as what they're pretending to be.
Yeah.
Because it's not all rainbows and butterflies.
No.
Especially even if you don't have kids. It is a lot of down and dirt grind to make a marriage work.
Oh, absolutely is, yeah. It absolutely
and there's times, even the other day, Shannon was doing something, and I looked at her, I go, you know what? If you were a man, I'd punch you in the face right now. And she looked at me. She was like, what? I'm like, I have never wanted to hit you so bad in my life. And I go, you know what? That's a lie. There's been other times, but you're a woman, so I won't. And she goes, I feel the same way. But because there's times where we don't hide shit. We don't pretend. If she's mad at me, she's like, you're being an asshole right now.
Yeah. And
I'm the same way. I don't want to talk. I told you, coming back from my freaking doctor's appointment when I had bad news, and she's grinding me. Did you say this? Did you say that? Babe, I don't want to talk to you right now. I want to go.
Yeah.
And then I called her. I said, you know what? I was pissed at you.
Yeah.
Because again, us talking, all that stuff you push down festers back up worse than what you actually push down.
Yeah. And that's a problem that me and my wife have. Like me and my wife have sometimes we'll get into an argument and we'll say really crazy shit to each other. And then like we have a hard time apologizing about it because I'm like, oh my God, we said really crazy shit to each other. And then it just becomes, we just don't talk about it. Maybe if like we did sit down and say crazy shit to each other and apologize or say maybe you shouldn't have said this at that time. I don't know. Maybe it'll just be, less of a fight or less of a, because, sometimes we say shit to each other. We don't really mean it. But we feel bad afterwards.
Right. But we've done that, but we've gotten to the point where if I feel like I'm going to say something that does not equal what we're doing, I won't say it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's times where you just want to hurt their freaking feelings.
Yeah.
Because they just hurt you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you're like, you know what? Here you go. You throw it. You can't take anything back. You say, there's some times where you have to bite your tongue and not say something when you're hurt. Because when you're hurt, you want to fire right back.
Yeah.
And make them hurt as bad as they just hurt you.
Yeah.
But you can't take that back.
No, I know you can't. And that's that's the sad part. Like, and that's the thing with me and Shannon. We fight. Like
there's times
fights too. Like
there's time
Shannon's
to
tough.
walk.
My Shannon's tough.
So is mine. There's time to walk away and then come back and be like, look, you said this and it pissed me off.
Yeah.
There's times to discuss and there's time you don't want to react because sometimes you can't take shit back that you threw out there. As much as they say, you know what, I forgive you, you still remember.
Yeah, it's like,
you know what I'm saying?
And we've all been in that instance where we said something that we wish we could have taken back. You think about that often too, but and then you really can't dwell on it either because you said it. So that just is what it is.
Again, after 23 years, you know each other.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And that was out of reaction.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Out of hurt, more than out of disrespect.
Every single marriage goes through the test of time, and they all go through that point of that marriage where a couple of times where you question like if you still want to be there, and then you're like, of course you do, because you think about all the great things. Yeah. And then you just kind of fall off again because it's like you get like hindrances in life or stuff that it's just stuff that just gets in the way, and you forget about the fight that you had, and then 7 months down the line when you think about it again, you're like, holy shit. Fucked up, and then they have time to think about it. Like it's work, man. It's just really hard work.
Guess what? Women don't forget anything.
No, they don't.
They don't. They'll bring stuff up. That one little thing you said, not even to be mean.
Yeah.
Like, do these pants make me look fat? No, your ass does.
Yeah. Not the pants.
It's not the pants, sweetheart.
On that note, we should cut this out because we're gonna get ourselves in trouble. So. I don't know, Josh. You want to? We should cut this at hour 22. What do you think?
Yeah, we're good to go.
All right. So listen. Tuesday night, 9:00.
9:00.
All right, dude.
Tigmore.
Right.
I don't even care if you like wrestling. Just listen to what it took him to become the pinnacle of his sport, and then what he's doing now to help kids get into college.
Awesome. All right, guys. All right, anybody out there listening? Guys, remember, it's on a podcast. We're going to be on Spotify, Apple, Google, Podchaser, all over the place. And listen, Shooting the Breeze is going to be sticking around, everybody. So that's what we're doing, just shooting the breeze. All right, Josh. Have a good night, dude.
All right, later.
There we go. Boop. Cousin Joe.